Hey there, beautiful people. This is Gina Robinson, and you are listening to the Renew Podcast. You are in the right place and always welcome here. Well, ladies, welcome back to the Renew Podcast. I have with me my friend Meghen Haggard.
Hi. Good to be back.
I know. So glad you're here. And another special friend, Margaret Turner.
Hey.
Margaret Turner is not new to Open Door Church. And actually, you were on the podcast. Was that in 2024?
I think it was, maybe early in 2024. It's been a while.
We did actually some episodes on relationships, and we talked about marriage and seasons of marriages and just growth. And that was fun. And so today's totally different.
It is.
Margaret, and can you just say your title at ECU? Because I will mess it up.
It's okay. I say it a lot. So I am the Director of Admissions and Recruitment for the Honors College at ECU.
And she is on campus a lot, but she is also on the road a lot.
I am. I travel a good bit.
That word recruitment, so you know what that means to all the high schools.
That's
and
right.
Pointing to East Carolina University. Go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
I know, right? But one of the reasons why we've invited Margaret to be with us today, and I hope you guys will be able to, I know I'm going to learn some things, but just to be able to glean from her wisdom in years being at the university, working with college students, but also working with families of high school students that are making the decision or really in the process of making those decisions. And so it's fun to hear some of the processes because I'm sure over time those are different than they were when our kids were going to college, right?
Yes, very different, very different.
And so we've been through some things as a nation too, even COVID and college students being disconnected and really isolating themselves. And with us being shut down, there was a lot of online learning, even more so.
Right.
Where some students were doing hybrid, they were full-time, which I'm just going to go ahead so we can just dive into this. Meghen and I were actually just talking about college students, their hunger for the Lord. There's a revival going on. I don't think we're using that word loosely, like we're seeing it. But Meghen has got some statistics and things that she had been reading, and I'm just going to have her share that because I think, Margaret, you'll be able to piggyback off that and kind of just dive deeper with us.
Yeah, so I mean, I absolutely think you're right. I don't think it's using the word revival, I think, is very appropriate in this because I do think that's what we're seeing all over the United States is there is a revival happening specifically amongst college students, but a lot of it is taking place on college campuses. And so I think probably we saw this first with the Asbury revival in 2023. There may have been some other things before that. That's just like kind of the first thing that comes to my mind. But then since then, we've seen ministries like Unite Nights with Jonathan Pokluda, Jenny Allen, and Tanya Pruitt, where they're traveling to different campuses and hosting these nights where like hundreds of students are getting saved and baptized and all that. And so, and then I know just with like some of the stuff that we've done here at Open Door with college ministries, how the hunger, like you said, for God is it's just different in a way that I haven't really seen in a while. Amongst this generation, which is really exciting. And so I guess like, you know, with you, I would love to hear like if you are seeing any of that at ECU, what you're seeing is different about this generation right now.
Yeah, I think I definitely am. I've been at ECU since 2012. So it's, you know, even just in those years, I feel like I've really seen a difference. Probably the biggest thing has been just their hunger to be in church and to find community and fellowship. And I think, I'm being on the front side, or I'm kind of
Yeah.
front outward facing, I guess. So I am meeting with a lot of students and parents out on the road and on campus. And so I get the opportunity and I get lots of questions about that, but not just from parents. Of course, parents tend to want to be like, are there great churches in the area? What kind of campus ministries? But I'm getting those questions from students now. And I think that
Wow.
is kind of really exciting and refreshing. And, we have great churches. So I obviously
Yes.
get to talk a lot about that. And I get to, mention a lot of the campus ministries that we have. And you can just see like their faces literally be like, okay, so like I'm going to be able to find this fellowship
Yeah.
and community when I leave my home church. I think,
Mm-hmm.
leaving your home church is a really big deal, especially for these students. I think church was really kind of a haven for a lot of students, especially during COVID. It was like a place that felt kind of normal once we got out, got opened back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's very important to them. And I'm just getting more questions about that than I think I have, when I first started in this role.
Yeah, I think that it has surprised me. I've met with a lot of college students over the last 2 years, and that is every person, when they came here, it was a priority for them to find a local church that they were attending, and they've been very faithful in attendance for church. The Barna research that you mentioned, let me just read this exactly so that I don't misquote it. So they are calling this a historic revival. For the first time in decades, younger adults, Gen Z and Millennials, they've included in this, are now the most regular churchgoers, outpacing older generations who once formed the backbone of church attendance. So Gen Z and Millennials are now the largest generation regularly attending church.
I think that's exciting. I mean, I know just from my personal experience when I've been at our 9 a.m. service here, like at Emmanuel, and I see like a ton of my students and just students in general, and I'm like, they're up at 9 a.m. They're not even at the 11 a.m. service, they're at the 9 a.m. service, and it's just like it's so refreshing, and they wave, and I'm just like, I mean, that I just think that's unique in itself. It wasn't like that when I was in college. We went to church, but it was we didn't do early service, so it's really exciting. But I can believe that, and I think that's so important. I'm just like, I mean, Open Door itself always obviously been focused on the younger generation. And I think that, I mean, they are our future. So the fact that they realize the importance of that and having that fellowship and even just accountability amongst themselves is exciting.
I was going to say, when we were talking about this and Meghen was sharing with me about the Barna, and so I was reading and I was like, with the Gen Z generation, they are really, really hungry for the authentic Christianity. So they really are wanting truth.
Mm-hmm.
They're wanting to find the truth for themselves. They're searching still for purpose and identity. And I think we say that about every generation.
True.
And I think also, you had mentioned about students like coming to church, but what have you seen? So you work with young students, you work with students that are in the program.
Right.
What are you seeing, like some of their concerns coming in as freshmen? Like some people, it's easy for them to connect. Maybe they're in an organization on campus. I mean, they may meet someone in the dining hall and or maybe like you had mentioned, I know we were reading through some things, Bible studies within their fraternities and sororities, things like that. What are you hearing them talk about? Yes, church community, but where are they finding it? How are they finding it? What are their concerns coming in as far as like, especially those freshmen?
I mean, I think a lot of them are really excited to be on a college campus, especially because they have lived through COVID, and it was I mean, during very what I would consider formative years of theirs where they ended up being isolated. So they're like excited to find that fellowship and community. They're definitely seeking that. I mean, ECU, specific to ECU is a big campus, right, with 27,000 students.
Yeah.
And so, they're kind of like, how do I find my place? I don't know anybody, I'm coming into ECU and I don't know people from my high school that are here, or they're not in the same dorm that I'm living in. And so they are definitely looking to connect with like-minded peers. And so for the believers, they're looking for that fellowship amongst other believers. And there are a tons of ways that they can do that. I mean, I've been encouraged by, we've had students that have come to me in my office and they're like, hey, we want to start a Bible study. How do we go about doing that? We want to start it for honors college students, but, open it to anyone. And, we've helped them find spaces that they can do that. Or, I've had, students that are like, hey, we started a Bible study on the, 5th floor with all the guys on our floor. And they're just doing that on their own. I think their concerns are that they may not find that on a bigger campus, or that they're not going to find people that share those same values. And that's legitimate concerns, but I think they're always refreshingly surprised that they're able to find those other people. I do a lot of connection making in that world too.
Yeah.
So because, I'm meeting students along the whole recruitment journey. And so I'm like, I can remember this student, looking for fellowship. And I'm like, have you met this student? Because I know, they go to church. If you need a ride, these people are going to church and you should, and so I'm able to facilitate some of that, which is always kind of fun. You hit on the biggest thing that I think is the concern. And like you said, it's not new to this generation, but the whole identity thing. It is definitely something I see a lot. Number one, I work with a lot of high flyers. They've come out of high school, they've done amazing things, and they get to campus and they're sort of like, I don't really want to be a number here. So they're looking for ways to get involved, but they are still kind of figuring out their own identity because of just, we all went through this, but we've been our parents, parents, I think too, are like a little more involved recently than they were. I kind of felt like they were kind of hands off for a while, but I think since COVID, even more so, we're seeing parents be way more involved again in the whole like college decision-making journey. They've always been involved, but I think maybe they're back to being more involved.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it just in like, just the being able to track your kids. Like, for example, I mean, when we went to college, Gina, there was no tracking, right?
Oh, no.
I mean, I had to go to a payphone to call my parents.
No
Sorry,
tracking.
Access
we're
to all the
dating
grades
ourselves.
online
Yes.
too.
Our grades were mailed home. So just like the fact that, now you can call your parents every single day. You can text them constantly. Like I hear our students talking about that. My college experience was very different than that. And so they're like super connected to their parents. We've had to change a lot of our, I guess, like even marketing and things that we do to include parents, where we used to be sort of like, okay, separation from families when you come to college, but you really are still connected. So you still have to, so we've started things like a parent Facebook page and newsletters and things like that,
really
because they do want to be involved. And, we just recognize that they're a bigger part of the equation. And that comes true even just in their finding community. I can sometimes get an email or a phone call from a parent that's just like, hey, I don't want them to know I'm talking to you, but would you check on so-and-so because I'm a little concerned, about this. And, that's one of my favorite things. I'm so thankful they call. I definitely view my work as a ministry on campus because I just can, pull students in my office and check on them. And, I can shut the door. I've prayed with students in my office. I pray for students. I feel like I'm a safe place they can come. But yeah, so I think there's just, I mean, it's really some of the same concerns that we probably had, but I think maybe it's just a little more magnified these days.
Well, it's something you said about parents being more involved. You also, I remember you had said when we were talking about this stuff that students are fearful that they're going to make the wrong decision or not make a good decision. And that really interests me when I was reading kind of through the notes and stuff, because we can overparent.
Oh, for sure.
And
For
so
sure.
there's just like that, there's really like, there has to be a good balance. And so talk about that a little bit with us about like, why do they feel like they're going to, is it because of the overparenting?
I think they've just been kind of, and especially since COVID, just they've been around their parents so much more. And then they're leaving for home, and like, before they make big decisions, they just have always had a parent right there, and they can still text their parents and be like, I'm trying to decide about this or this, where, we left,
Yeah.
it was like, you're on your own.
Good
like
luck.
literally,
Yeah.
like you've got to make
My
these
dad
decisions.
called it yo-yo.
Yeah.
You're on your
Oh,
own.
that's funny.
That's good.
I was like,
I've never heard that. That's good. But, so I feel like they're just not as strong in that decision-making process because they haven't had to do it as much. They've always kind of had that person right there. So I think, that's just a word for parents too, that like we do need to let them, like we learned growing up, let them make some mistakes in a protective environment before they're out on their own, and the consequences could be bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. And, I mean, it's funny. You meet all kinds of parents that are in on every conversation, and others that are like, no, I'm letting them make these decisions. But I think the hesitancy comes with just kind of lack of confidence because they haven't had to do it a lot on their own. But I get to also see them grow in that as they go from first years to to when they
That's
graduate
awesome.
too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Are you finding that a lot of students end up staying like locally where they go to college, or do you think a lot of people are ready to get back home?
It is a big mix. I think Greenville has an appeal to students. It's funny, sometimes I think some of the students that have grown up in the bigger cities and they come to Greenville and they're like, this is kind of neat because everything's like right here, and they like that. And a lot of students appreciate like the rural side of Eastern North Carolina. I feel like I see more students that have like grown up here that are the ones that want to leave, at least for a time. Not that they wouldn't come back, but that they, if they've grown up near here or around here, they want to go maybe experience a bigger city or something. But people are very passionate about ECU, as y'all know. So
Yeah, absolutely.
they're very
Yeah.
loyal to ECU and the mission. So I think that's, one of the reasons people stay. They find it a little surprisingly attractive to stay here.
Yeah.
You and I were at an event together. I don't know if you remember this, probably about a year ago, where you were on a panel at the EC Study Center.
Yes.
Which is a place that I love so dearly.
Same.
If
I send a
you-
lot of students there.
Yes. If you are a college student at ECU right now and you have not checked out the Study Center, you should absolutely go there.
Yes.
It's such a special place. And so we were at an event there. You were on a like Christian faculty panel that
Yes.
night, which to me was very eye-opening. I don't know that I really realized how many Christian faculty there are at ECU. One of the questions that I've really thought about a lot since then, and I should just ask you, so I'll ask you now.
Okay.
What are ways that churches can encourage Christian faculty and students? Like, are there specific things we can pray for? Are there things that we can do on campus? How can we best support you?
I'm part of a Christian faculty and staff organization on campus, which has been really fun just because of, you know, ECU's a big campus. There are a lot of faculty and staff. And, you know, I'm honestly a good number from Open Door, which is always kind of fun. But so we meet regularly. We actually meet virtually like once a month for prayer, which is kind of cool. My schedule was kind of all over. Like I was on the road when we met last, but we jump on a Teams call and like just spend like 30 minutes in prayer. And then we meet in person. So we've done some of that at the study center. We've also done it on campus. So I think in terms of churches support, you know, like maybe adopting one of those events or something would be great, because we do like, you know, buy a quick lunch or something like that. And, you know, just say whoever can come, you know, and then, but definitely praying. I think one of the things I found that just like praying with the group regularly is that we would all be really bold in our offices, our classrooms, wherever the Lord has us, in our own faith, because it really, like, our students, you know, when they find out that there are Christian faculty and staff, like, they are encouraged. And, you know, to know that, like, there's someone that they can come talk to if they need to. I think, you know, sometimes they feel alone in a classroom, maybe defending their faith at times or things like that. And so we take out an ad in the ECU newspaper every year, that the beginning of the school year, that says, hey, here's a list of Christian faculty and staff, and it's listed by department, so that students can see, hey, I may not have this professor, but I know this professor is in this building and I could go talk with them. And so I think that's just one of the, you know, and it's just refreshing for us to know there are other believers on campus that we're all, I mean, we've all see our jobs as, you know, college campus, huge mission field, and just been able to minister to students where they are, and that they can come ask us questions, or we can pray for them or whatever. And all the folks I've met across campus, you know, it's just fun. I like see people in a meeting, and then I see them come to our Christian faculty and staff, and we're like, hey, I know you, right?
That's
you know,
so
so
great.
it's encouraging for us, and it's important for us to have that fellowship also.
Is there, just for people that are listening, are there dues associated with it?
No.
That's so great.
No, it's literally just a group of students, and like, I mean, faculty and staff, and we say, you know, like, if there's someone else in your department that, you know, we just add them to the email, and then we just send out invitations when we do like a luncheon or have our prayer time. That's and so things great. Like that.
Well, you know, here at Open Door, Mike Adkins is our college pastor.
Yes.
And just for those that are listening today, whether you have a student or you've got a high school student going to college, or you're actually a college student, every other Wednesday night, we call it college nights. And we are a church of small groups, so we do have young adult small groups. Most of those are gender specific. There we have male groups, female groups. We do have the college nights where it's co-ed, which is amazing for them to be in community together. They get to hear a word. Sometimes there's worship involved, and I know that they actually split up into some smaller groups during that time. And occasionally we'll throw in some food here and there, because what college student doesn't love
That's exactly
food?
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's tight. It's what, you know, back in the day, my husband, you know, was in college and ate a ton of oodles and noodles, I think, because it was the cheapest thing there was.
Oh, yeah. They still do that. They still,
I know.
they still eat like that.
But anyway, so really just, you know, if you're interested, you can look on our app too. We'd love to have anybody just check us out. Or if you've got questions, feel free to reach out to us.
And it's at the Emmanuel campus, so it's close by. We've had students walk before.
Yeah. Oh, you could.
Here.
I was thinking. I literally thought about walking here. It's really nice.
Yep.
It's amazing how close and convenient it is. Which
I know
it's part of the vision, right?
Yep. What are some other things you want us to know? Because I'm here for it.
Yeah. What if there's like, you know, a parent listening, they have maybe a junior, senior in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting to, I guess they've probably been thinking about college for a minute at this point, but what's some advice that you could give?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is like visit campus, even as a local student or someone that's nearby, just because you've been to a football game, which, you know, as we all know, a lot of our kids, we grew up like that as well. But I think it's really important to come get a sense of the campus culture of being on campus. And especially if you are a believer and you are, you know, seeking that fellowship, then even more important, I think, to come on campus and, you know, not be afraid to ask questions about how can you get involved. And, you know, there's lists of those student organizations and campus ministries, but then there's also just, you know, people they can talk with. I don't hold just honor students in my office. I have all kinds of students come in my office for all kinds of things. And, you know, I think for a parent, that's important. I mean, the other thing I would say as a parent who's getting ready to like send their kids off to campus, I think, you know, re-emphasizing the importance of community and fellowship for those students, and how, you know, that's important for them to continue, but also like just continuing to sow into your children and their identity in Christ, because it's easy to, I mean, we already see it with social media, but then you get on a college campus and, you know, student A is doing this and student B is doing that. And it's so easy to compare yourself and feel like you should be doing more or whatever. And it's like we have got to be so firm in our identity. And I say that to students all the time. Like, I mean, and we know that our identity has to come from Christ, because everything else is just, I mean, it just all falls short. So I think as a parent, you know, continuing to like just remind them of their identity, not in outcomes and you know, performance, but just in who they are in Christ. And that goes for any college campus that you go to. And that it's okay to ask for help, you know, that if you're struggling in any way, that you should ask for help, that there are people that are willing to talk to you and can help make those connections. I've, you know, definitely looped students into lots of campus ministries and into a Bible study that I know is meeting somewhere, and things like that. So, but I think we do our students, our own children, an injustice if we're not always sowing into them their identity in Christ. Like, it's just too important these days.
That's really good.
I got to look through my notes. You know why? Because I don't want to forget anything that I wanted to ask.
I know.
I was like, this is my opportunity. But I also have friends that have kids that are going to college. And
I mean, it's a big decision.
And really, or they're there. And what's getting ready to come up now are exams for students. And so this is like if you're a freshman, this is your first semester going through the final end of the semester exams. Do you have any encouragement for any of that? Of course, we want to say don't cram at the last minute, but besides that,
prepare early.
Don't start going to class tomorrow. I hope you've been going the whole time.
Exactly.
Everybody always gets sick exam week too, because you're not sleeping, you're not eating well, you're just staying up trying to absorb it all.
And I mean, I think some of that is just part of college, right? You just kind of have to go through that. I mean, I know, like, I mean, we've already shouted out the EC Study Center, but like, they always have fun stuff going on there. And I think it's important to always, you know, to be able to step back and take a break. I have to tell our students that a lot, like over fall break, you know, I'm like, what are you doing over break? And I'm like, and don't tell me you're going to be studying and working the whole time. I want to hear a report that you're doing something fun. And, you know, with strong students, that is sometimes they're prone to do that. But I think, you know, making sure you have time to like, go to the football game Thursday night or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, working out at the gym, just there's so many things to be involved on our campus. We've got pickleball galore. I'm sure y'all see that right next here
Yes.
or hear it one. But, whatever it is you enjoy doing, making sure you take time for that. And then, obviously you have to prepare, but I think, find study groups. It's more fun to study with people,
Yes.
especially, if you're studying for that first chem exam or something. And, like you said, the first round of tests and exams are, it's different. It's even if you've been in AP and dual enrollment and all that, those first tests are different. So it's also okay if everything doesn't go like, you don't make 100 on everything.
Yeah.
It looks very different than high school. So being able to just realize that it's okay. A lot of people I know didn't have the smoothest college journey in terms of like their grades and all that. So it's just okay. It doesn't define you as a person.
It's interesting when you talk to people. I mean, even like with our own children who now are, in their late 20s, they were like, that one semester where I just totally bombed it.
Right.
And I was, and it's like you can think back and of like, where did I go wrong, or what type of rhythm in my life was out of whack because there was something that was taking priority. But also, I mean, not resting and being involved. If you're an extrovert, it's hard to say no in college because there are so many opportunities to extrovert like myself.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, let's go over here.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go do this. Yeah. Sure, I'll go to coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I just can't. But also there are, for those that are wired differently, you can just get stuck in your dorm, your routine, and
that's probably my bigger concern, that you stay in isolation, especially if you're like struggling or having a hard time or all those kind of things. I mean, I have walked more than one student over to our tutoring center called the Pirate Academic Success Center, especially as honor students. You think you're the only one that's made that bad grade, and then or you think you're the only one that needs help in a class, and I walk in there and there's like 10 other honor students. I'm like, no, like, it's a lie the devil throws at all of us, right? That you're the only one dealing with this. So you're the only one struggling. And that's just never true. And so, I think for them to realize that is important, and that you're going to hit some hard times or bad grades and all that, but you're also going to come right out on the other side, and that's where we learn the most about ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
And learn to trust God with our future.
Yeah, and I think there's so many resources, and you're one of them for students on campus, but there's so many resources for them, and you're paying for them.
Yes, you are.
That, it's like, why wouldn't we use the resources that's been given to us, which makes me think, of all these students that have so much going on, from being stressed to exams coming up, wanting to compete and compete well, comparing themselves, or maybe they had a sibling that has already been there, done that, and they're like, oh, well, they did this, so,
right.
I got to make sure, whatever it is, my heart really is burdened for students these days, because I feel like, as always, every year that goes by, there's more distractions, there's more opportunities to get off track, but there's also great opportunities to really stay the course and get in Christian community and get around people that will love you and encourage you. I think that was my big thing in college, is that nobody at that time came in and said, hey, have you, thought about coming over here to this group, or have you thought about this? Now I feel like people are getting bolder about reaching out, and asking for help is such a huge...
It really is.
It's such a huge thing.
It really is. And I think we were talking a little bit about this too. One of the things that I'm honestly most excited about is I've seen I'll even say in the last year or year and a half, the fact that this younger Gen Z and then the Gen Alpha coming behind that, like they are willing to do the do not disturb on your phone. And I feel like that's just such a big thing. Like I get it back. I'm texting a student about something and I get they're set on do not disturb. And, I've read that like this generation, I think, and the Gen Alphas coming behind them are really starting to understand more so that the phone can be a distraction or a deterrent or something and they're able to like actually set it down and turn it off or put it on do not disturb. I get it at night sometimes. And, I just think that's really important and I'm excited for that. I think it's starting to maybe we're starting to turn, a new page where we're able to actually see students, disconnect and from that, all the outside things. And that's only going to serve to help them in their identity and their, just back to the truth. And nothing replaces knowing the truth.
Yeah. Oh. No, I love that. I think my favorite thing, my favorite thing about this generation, they are so funny. They are hilarious. Like if you get around a group of these students, I mean, they're so unserious at times where it's like they can make anything like light and fun. I love it so much.
Not
and
too
they're
heavy.
Also, we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in different terms, but they're not like judgmental either. They're like you said, they're very accepting, very loving. It's kind of like they are going to just be who they are.
Yeah.
And they're fine with whatever you want to do. That's like your thing. But I remember when we first started working with college students, I felt so old suddenly, like all the changes in style over the last few years. And like now I'm a mom and I'm in my 30s. I'm like, I feel like so out of date and so old now. They did not care at all. They did not need us to be cool or like impressive or anything. They genuinely want to be loved.
Yes.
They want someone to like take interest in them and just love them and listen to them. And of course, like when people, they can tell when people are being authentically themselves and genuine. But gosh, they're funny. I love this generation for that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you on all of those things. And I think they are at times too, like they're able to not take themselves too seriously, which is important. And I mean, I enjoy the laughing. And like you said, I mean, I definitely feel old. I'm a lot older than you, Meghen. But they don't care. I'm like Gina. I've got the mama. They come in my office as they know I'm a mama, and their parents tell me that, I feel like she has another mom on campus, or he has another mom on campus, and I'm like 100%. I'm also a little more bold in speaking truth to them as well too when they need to hear it. But
it comes better from you sometimes than the parents.
Very true. But anyway, but I love that about them, and I think they do. They love well. They love all people well, and they're not judgmental. And I think sometimes our generation, sometimes we can be, truthfully. So I think it's kind of refreshing that to get to see that also.
Do you notice I feel like they're all very creative too. I don't know if it's like just having technology from the beginning of their lives, even more so than my generation. Do you notice that at school?
Oh,
too?
yeah.
Okay.
100%. They're creative, not just like in creative arts, but just in technology. I mean, I asked them, hey, can somebody help me do this? And it's like 3 seconds later, they like hand me something that's already done. And I'm just like, I would have been sitting there for 2 days trying to figure out how to do that in Excel. And think I'm pretty good at Excel. And then, they just knock it out in 2 seconds flat. And so, it's fun to watch though.
Well, and that's that whole like multi-generational thing, because you're learning from them and they're learning from you, which is amazing. That's how it's supposed to be, and so I love that you get to do that. I love that the Lord's using you where you are, and I know you love your job. I know it's work. She works very hard. But just being able to connect with people. And I know you're a people lover. And so, all those parents out there that are trying to decide if you're going to go to East Carolina, your kids are going to go to East Carolina.
That's
Yes,
right.
you should.
Yeah,
They
send them to
should.
Margaret.
No, but I mean, it's such a blessing to love your job, period. But it's, I get to work around an amazing staff, but I mean, just amazing students. And I share this when I'm talking to families, but I'm like they're each other's biggest fans and biggest supporters. And that's just refreshing to get to see on a daily basis. And they, they're just very genuine in who they are. They are not trying to pretend to be someone else. And, I have the best of both worlds that I get to do that, daily work and see students and also, they keep me up on all the new hip things that when they talk about, I'm like,
I know.
what is that? Or,
Yeah,
the new trends on TikTok, and I don't know what they're talking about, but they
The
keep
staff
me in the
around here
loop.
do that for me too.
Yeah,
I'm like, wait a minute,
exactly.
what kind of lip gloss are you
You got to
putting
find
on?
that. You got to find
Wait,
those.
where is that from?
Exactly.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much for
Yes, it's
just
fun.
coming and hanging out with us. I do want to tell you guys that are listening that you can email us at renew@opendoorchurch.com. And if you have a question for Margaret or would somehow like to get connected, whether it has to do with Honors College or not, she's a good connector for campus life at ECU and can at least point you in the right direction. Again, we would love to have anybody who is college age. What's the age limit now?
I think it's 18 to 23.
3, I
Yeah,
think. Yes.
so.
Every other Wednesday night right here at Emmanuel. If you can't catch a Sunday service, we do have service on Thursday nights. And so we're finding that students love that option too at our Winterville campus. So lots of good things going on. Peruse our small group directory. We love to help you find some community out there. And again, thank you always for listening.